Hey everybody, thanks for joining us back out here at the Range Report. As I mentioned in the last video, we were going to do a little bit of a response to our friend Dan Abraham, otherwise known as the Firearm Guy, for what he believed to be the most iconic firearm. And his choice was the Desert Eagle, chambered in 50 AE. Well, we have to, agree to a certain point. Everybody knows what the Desert Eagle is. It is a pretty iconic firearm. But for us, we thought a little bit differently. When you think of a firearm, you got to think of the history that's behind it. And as great as some of the modern handguns are, and everybody knows when you say Glock, everybody knows what a Glock is. You say a 1911, everybody knows what a 1911 is. But the one gun that kind of stands above all as far as the history goes, the romance of it, it's got to be only one gun. The Colt Peacemaker, the 1873 Single Action Army Colt 6-shot Peacemaker. This is mine. This is the pride of my entire collection. Of all the firearms that I own, none of them harkens back to warm my heart more than this particular gun. This is a second generation Colt, and it is in absolute pristine condition. Now, the first generation Colts and the second generation Colts, the metallurgy was a little bit different back then, and they weren't meant to handle the high pressure cartridges that we do today. The third generation Colts generally handle them, all of the reproduction models, and every other company that makes a single action Army handgun are all meant to handle the higher pressure. But the original ones, you use what they call the cowboy load. It's a lower pressure load. It's not generating nearly as much muzzle velocity, but it's still a pretty potent package. You're talking 210 grain bullet flying at you. I believe 210 is the cowboy load. They go up to some more, and you can get buffalo bore. You can get anything you want. But in the older models, Gen 1, Gen 2, you want to stick with that. Now, like I said, this to me is the firearm that you judge all others by. Not necessarily in performance, or even, what impact they've had in pop culture. This is the gun that won the West. This is the gun that brought modern firearms into the hands of the public. Prior to this, the self-contained cartridge, everything was black powder. The cap on the back, load the ball, press it in, grease the cylinders, and all the rest of that. This was the first incarnation, really, of what made the gun popular, was the self-contained cartridge, and this is the platform that it was fired out of. Now, this one has got the 7 1/4 inch barrel on it. Colt had several varieties of this gun, not only in what this one is 45 caliber, but they were chambered in other calibers as well. And they have different barrel lengths, 5.5, 4 inch. They had a storekeeper model, I think had a 2.5 inch barrel, based all on the same frame, all single action. But this is the one that is probably, everybody from, Wyatt Earp and every character that, John Wayne played, all carried one of these. Except for the one variety of this, which was called the Buntline Special, had a 12-inch barrel. It was created by Ned Buntline. There's a lot of history involved with that, but, we're not going to go into that. We'll leave that guys for guys like Hickok 45 to explain the history. I'm more or less just over here drooling over my own gun because I love it so much, and I figured I'd share it with you guys. But we're going to take a couple of shots today. We're going to go through a couple of the procedures with it. The one thing about this gun, as with all single action Army pistols, is you carry it with 5 rounds in it and 1 empty chamber. And the reason why is because you didn't want to have the situation where if you dropped it, it would accidentally go off. Because with these guns, the firing pin was located actually on the hammer spur itself and not floating inside the frame. So when this came down, it would pretty much be resting right on the back of a primer. So you would carry it on an empty chamber. And the procedure for that is you load 1 round, skip a chamber, then load the remaining 4 rounds. Then you cock it and bring it back down, and it rests on an empty chamber. This way you can carry a drop safe. The other thing that you don't notice about one of these guns is the fact that you can't aim them with the hammer down. You have to cock this gun all the way to be able to get a sight picture from the sight notch in the back of the tunnel all the way up to the blade in the front. So when you see guys in the movies just, from the hip, it's because nobody ever bothered to teach them how to aim one of these things. Because if you aim them, they're pretty damned accurate. Like I say, you can't really say enough about a single action army. The other last thing I'm going to tell you before we go. If you have one of these, you never bring it to half cock, which will allow you to turn your cylinder and then bring the hammer back down. You always want to go through the full procedure of bringing it all the way to full cock and then go down. You don't want to throw the timing off. As rugged as these guns were, they were like a Swiss watch. All the internals on these things were very, very finely made, and you don't want to throw the timing out of it, because you'll wind up like the newest Colts that have just re-debuted seem to have a little bit of dysfunction firing in single action. Maybe they weren't made by the same kind of craftsman that made these. But in any event, we're going to take some shots today. We got a target about 25 feet ahead. We got some bad hombre giving me a dirty look over there. Looks like we got to take care of some business. But and then we're going to introduce you to the predecessor to this and show you why this replaced that. So for now, we're going to load up, take a few shots, and see what these things do. Alright, so before we start playing with the Peacemaker, I'm going to introduce you to this. This is the Army Colt. That was the predecessor. This is a black powder gun, 44 caliber, and just like that, you carry this one 5 loaded, 1 empty chamber. One difference about this gun that you'll notice is that the frame does not extend over the barrel. So you don't have a rear sight. Or do you? The thing about this gun is that just like that, you can't aim it with it in the down position. You have to cock this. What makes it interesting is that the rear sight is actually cut into the hammer spur. So when you bring this back, a little notch shows up, and that's when you can get your sight picture. Now, one thing about a gun like this is that after your first shot, it takes about 5 minutes for the smoke to clear before you can actually see if you hit anything. But we're going to run a few shots through this. I'm going to do my due diligence to try and be as accurate as possible. Now, this is using a 44 caliber round ball. It does have a rifled barrel, but it's not going to be nearly as accurate as that Colt. So I have another camera downrange. Let's just hope I don't hit that by accident. But we're going to take a few shots with this and see how this goes. And then we'll just do a little comparison between them. And we have a misfire, which is another reason why the cartridge was a much superior option. And there's the smoke. Now I'm aiming center mass, and like I said, I can't see the target very well right now to see if I actually hit anything, but we're going to give it a couple more shots. And here's that last shot that's on the empty chamber. Now, the nipple is still on it from the first shot that didn't go off. We're going to try and strike it one more time just to see what happens. And there we go. Now, when I show you the target has got, well, you'll see it. I was aiming for right about here. And looking at it right now, I've got about a 3-inch group all right here. So this gun does shoot a little high and to the right, or to the left rather, and will get the job done. Is it as reliable as a cartridge? No. Is it fun? Hell yeah. So we're going to take a look at that, Then we're going to run 6 shots through, 5 or 6 shots through the other Colt and do a little comparison. Alright, back again with the Single Action Army Colt 45. We're going to load off 5 rounds, take a few shots at the target to see how we do in comparison to the black powder. Now again, you bring this to half cock, load 1 round, you skip a chamber, then you load the remaining 4 rounds. So that this way, when you bring the hammer back, because remember you want to go through a full cycle. When you close the loading gate and you bring it back, you're dropping the hammer on an empty cartridge, on an empty cylinder rather. So we're going to take 5 shots and see how we do. Now I'm going to aim back for the center mass that I aimed at before. Well, all 5 rounds are in the center mass, but believe it or not, I seem to have gotten a better grouping with my black powder gun. So we're going to run another 5 rounds through it, see if I can't tighten up that group a little bit, and then we're going to call it a day. So again, 1 round in, skip a chamber, and then load the rest. Now just to let you know, we're using Winchester Super X. These are cowboy loads. So with the 5 in, dropped on an empty chamber, we're going to put 5 more, try and get them in the dead center. Well, if I was out on the range and that guy was coming after me, I think I would have probably did my job. But, like I said, the Single Action Army Colt revolver. No collection, no firearm collection is complete unless you have one of these. Now, like I said, I know a lot of people aren't really fond of revolvers. They seem passé. But, just for the heritage. If you're an American, you need the quintessential American handgun. So with all due respect to our friend Dan, when you talk about iconic firearms, I'm pretty sure this one is at the top of the food chain. So thanks for joining us back out here at the Range Report. Now please, while you're here, hit the little bell for the alerts, because as of Monday, the Range Report will be coming to you from SHOT Show in Las Vegas, Nevada. SHOT Show 2020. We're going to be both doing live broadcasts from booths and interviews, but we're also going to be bringing you all the latest as far as the firearms industry goes, and as far as all the new handguns, rifles, shotguns, and accessories. So hit like, hit subscribe, hit the alerts, and remember to check out our website, www.l1f.us, and take advantage of the Freedom February calendar contest, because the tickets are going to be going quite fast once we're at the show floor. Keith Berry of 5150 Rifles, who's building our Legend of Liberty rifle, our $10,000 grand prize, is going to be bringing the mock-up with him to SHOT Show, along with 6 of his other custom rifles. So when people over there see the kind of work that he does and know that that one is getting ready to be delivered, they're going to be picking up tickets pretty quick. So if you want to get a chance in on that rifle, go to calendar.l1f.us or visit our website and look for the link above. I'll also be putting the link below. But until then, you guys be safe, shoot straight.